Okay. Everybody, welcome to the SmartNet Winter Update. Glad you guys could make it out. Happy holidays to everyone. This should be pretty short and sweet. Just wanted to do one last webinar before the end of the year, make sure everybody was caught up in all things SmartNet, answer any questions that might be outstanding, and wish everybody happy holidays and Merry Christmas. So, like I said, it's a pretty short and sweet webinar today. We're going to be covering where are we now, give a quick portal review of some tools and features that have been on the portal for a while now, but we wanted to make sure that everyone was aware of them if you haven't attended a webinar before. We're going to do a couple updates of things that have changed on the portal and talk about some new small features, but something I think will be nice for everyone to use. We'll spend most of our time today briefly covering the upcoming North American adjustment. I wanted to make sure everybody was aware with what's going on with that. Also, what is on the horizon, and then questions and answers at the end. As always, we have Chuck Jones on the phone as well, or on the call as well, so if you have any questions, please feel free to type them. If it applies to everybody in the audience, we'll read them off and answer them live, or Chuck will also type an answer to you as well. So let's get going. So where are we now? A few numbers for you. We usually do this at the front of every one of them. We currently have 55 servers in operation. We've added 50 plus new stations or data streams since March, which brings our current total of stations up to 479 stations. We're now in 17 states and 4 Canadian provinces. So we've added had quite a bit of growth this year. I think that brings our total to 75 stations that we've added this year, maybe a little bit more. But we've had pretty good growth, and we'll keep this going. In addition to where we're at, we've also got a number of things happening in the eastern U.S. We've added a number of data streams to increase our coverage in a number of areas, as well as procured a number of upgrades in the eastern U.S. So we have 15 new GNSS receivers being distributed for upgrades and expansions that haven't gotten put in yet. So that's not included in the 479. And we've added 40 plus new data streams in Vermont and Pennsylvania. So that was good to increase the footprint and give our customers in those areas some services that they needed. Out west, we've just finished our second tour of the year out west to take care of a few things. So central and western U.S., we just got done driving about 9,000 miles, added or inspected and documented 32 stations in preparations for the North American adjustment, and 21 stations were installed, added, or upgraded. So spent about 7 weeks on the road doing this, and I think we've filled in some holes, moved some stuff around, and improved the performance out there quite a bit. So a few of our newest babies, our new additions. We got a couple from Arizona in here, a couple from California in here, I think a couple from Texas in here. So a few different stations that have been installed, and then our trusty workers down here helping out. I don't know if Donnie Still's on here, but you can see how hard Donnie's working while everybody else is doing something. So that's where we are. So we've grown quite a bit. We've got quite a few things going on, and now I want to make sure you guys are aware of what's available to you guys on the portal. So if you haven't spent any time on the website or the portal, I encourage you to go around and poke around on there. There's a lot of great resources for most of the things that you do on a day-to-day basis, or most of the questions that you have. The answers can be found on the portal. We're always happy to help, and your sales reps, I'm sure, are always happy to help. But if you need a quick and fast answer, we try to put it up here where you can find it. So a few sections. The download section, we'll talk about that. The FAQs, live status map, if you guys aren't aware of how that works, we'll talk about that as well. Station status updates via email. This goes out to the distributors so that they know what's going on in their particular region to help us bring stations back online. The site ID and search tool. The site management database, which is what we maintain to help maintain site logs, site pictures, etc. Some things have been developed on that as well. some changes. We have some alternate domain names now that we'll talk about, as well as Twitter updates. So the download section. The download section is where we post everything that we think could be of use to you out in the field. So the download section has a bunch of great material, a bunch of great information, and it's really easy to find. If you just go to resources on the main web page here and go to downloads, when you go here, you'll see all sorts of great stuff. You'll see some white papers. You'll see all the webinars that we do, the best practices guide, and also boundaries for KMCs. So those would be state boundaries, regional boundaries that are defined for SmartNet. One really nice feature, of course, here is the webinars. So if you or your staff have not been able to make a webinar, we've downloaded it. We put them all up on the web where you guys can watch them, anytime you want. Just like this one's being recorded right now, and we'll post this this afternoon once we get it down. So this is a great little section. If there's something that we get asked a lot, we'll put it here as far as being able to grab it. Otherwise, we'll put it in the frequently asked questions section of the website. Just a quick mention there in case you need to go find something. Like I mentioned, the FAQs. The FAQs are where we put everything that gets asked on a fairly frequent occurrence. So again, under resources, FAQs, you can see we've got a bunch of information here. You can click across the sidebar here and see all the information that you need. If something that gets asked over and over again, we try to put it up here. We make note to put it up here. So we encourage you guys to use this as well. You also see there's embedded links in this document or in this web page. So if you do have a question about something and it takes you somewhere else, we try to make sure that we can find a complete answer up here on the FAQ section. So just a quick little review of a couple of those features. The live status map, this is for portal users only. If you log in to the portal, I know the question comes up on a fairly frequent occurrence. How do I get RTK data? How do I get Rhinex data? And how do I log onto the portal? Because there's a couple different usernames and passwords. To access the portal, the username and password is always going to be the email address. So you'll use your email address to log into the portal here. So on your activation email, you'll see at the top it says portal license, and that's your email address. For all your RTK or Rhinex data services, the username is the one that you would use on your rover. So that's your data services licenses. So that's typically a 5 to 7 character with a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 at the end of it, and then a six number password. That gets you onto your RTK. So the status map here, we do realize that there are still a couple of outstanding bugs on the status map, which will be fixed in Spider 4.2, which we were told was announced, will be announced on Monday. So that's a good thing for us. We'll be able to upgrade the servers and fix some of these outstanding issues where stations reflect as down, but they are really up. So we have a few stations on the portal that are shown as down that really aren't. And we apologize for that. It's been something we've been waiting on Hairbrook to fix for quite a while now. So when you come into the status map, we've also changed recently how the status map works and how it queries information. Originally, when we first launched this, just from a server loading perspective, we were looking at a 2-hour polling interval, or excuse me, a 10-minute polling interval, and it looked at historic data over 2 hours. So what this means is that if a station had been up and we received every epoch of data, or every poll data for every poll every 10 minutes, the station showed us up. If we didn't get every piece of the information, it would show as having intermittent issues. So if we got 80% of the data over that 2-hour period, it would show having intermittent issues. If it dropped below that 50% mark, then it would show as offline. We've changed that now where it's actually over an hour historic period, and it polls every 5 minutes for data. And we're going to look and see how that works on the server, and if we can squeeze out a little bit lower threshold on that, we might do it as well. But we've just made that change a few weeks ago when we're trying to see what the server load's going to look like from that polling interval. So you can always come in here. You can see what stations are up and down. Example, Fresno is not really down; it's really up. But because of the little bug, we changed it out, and during the upgrade process, it succumbed to one of the bugs in the software. Same thing with Pleasanton up here. So we spent a lot of time actually out here in Northern California during the tour. Did quite a few upgrades. Fresno was upgraded. Elk Grove was added. Pleasanton was upgraded. Gilroy was upgraded. Monterey was upgraded. So we spent some time up here making sure that we tried to fix some of the outstanding issues. Same thing across in other places. So we can come in here. Like I said, most of these as showing down aren't. They're up. It's just a little bug that we're going to have fixed hopefully just after the first of the year. Also in here, if you haven't used it, Site ID search tool, so you can feel free to come on here and check stuff out. So if I want to come in and find information about TXFW, Texas Fort Worth, you can see all sorts of stuff about Texas Fort Worth. You can see the additional information, how it was mounted. You can see coordinate information. You can see, of course, the receiver type, antenna type, serial numbers, all that good information. Or if you need to see, pictures, you can see pictures as well just by clicking on it. So, feel free to come in here, poke around. We're adding pictures all the time, so don't feel like if you get to one that doesn't have a picture, we inherited a lot of stuff, and we're trying to document everything as we can. So that's the live status map. Also, the RTCM search ID. If you guys haven't used this before, I'm going to pick a random number. We'll see if we have a 495. No, 495. I'm just striking out today. Don't play my lottery numbers, folks. So let's just go down here. We'll copy that. Okay. So I can search by either site code or if I'm using my rover management tool and I get an RTCM site ID that I don't know what it is, I can also come in here, hit search. Where's it going? That's going up in the background. Anyway, you hit search and it'll pull up the data file as well. So feel free to come in here, poke around. You'll be able to see what sites are up. And like I said, this is not a really good reflection right now. Also in here, we have the rover management pull down. With rover management, what you'll see is all of your historic data for your rovers. I don't remember what we're keeping right now, but I think right now we've got everything back to when we launched this back in March, the March time frame. So if I come in here and I were to pick, we'll go find a like a person. Okay. Then when I get this information, I've got all my rovers. I've got my time on the rovers. I've got all this information down through here as far as what rovers, what the connection logs are, everything that I might need to look at. So on here, I can map my data. So you can see starting on 11/16, it always goes back 30 days. I can hit map it. When I do that, I'm going to get a map screen showing where I've been. Again, this is not data points, so don't try to use this to collect data with, but it gives you an idea of where a crew's been working. Or I can also hit my log data, so it shows me here what my username was, my connection time, what my first reference station is, what my last reference station was, what settings I was using. It shows me all that good dandy information that I can use to pull from. It also shows me all of my auxiliary stations. So I see that I was using Markham as my master station, Etobicoke, Toronto, Brampton, Mississauga, and Newmarket as auxiliary stations. So, so this is a good thing that you can come in and see this, and you can also save this as a PDF. And when you save it as a PDF, of course, then you can put it in your normal data files for logging purposes. And it'll take a second to save it. Okay, so this is the rover management portal. You also have the ability to come in here and email yourself your activation again. So if you've lost your rover username and password, you can come in here and email activation. You can edit your contact information in here. So if you have somebody that's leaving, you want to add somebody as a secondary contact, you can put that in here. Or you can come in here and edit your equipment. So change what equipment type you have, so we know better when you're out there in the field. And again, if you see, what you're coming off of here, it's coming off of Mark. Hit search, and there's Markham, Ontario. So you can see some of this isn't filled out yet. So we've still got a little bit of work to do on quite a few stations. Okay, so that's the rover management tool. Just wanted to make sure you guys were trying it and using it. Yeah, there we go. Account and rover management tool, rover usage graphics shows you that, mapping of usage, look at detailed connection logs, rover username and password recovery, modify equipment or contact info for your company, and again, it's secure and only accessible by us, our staff, or your dealer of record. That way they can send you an email with the activation email again. So we just showed that. So portal updates and changes. First, I know everybody loves typing in the big long smartnet.leica-geosystems.us. I know I love saying it all the time, and I know you like it when you have to go to your rover and use a domain name in a rover and you type in smartnet.ca.leica-geosystems.us or smartnet.la.smartnet or .leica-geosystems.us. I know typing all that's a lot of fun. So what we've done, especially for the rover side, is we've decided to try to streamline things and to help simplify things for everybody. So we've created a couple new domain names, and these domain names can be either used for our data services, be it for accessing RTK data, accessing spiderweb, or accessing FTP data as well. So it can be used for all three of those things, as well as accessing the website or the portal. Okay, so for SmartNet data services, we strongly encourage you to use these new domain names. If you aren't already using domain names and your rover supports it, we really strongly encourage you to transition over to domain names. The reason being is, like we talked about in the transition events and everything else, by using domain names, things become transparent to you. What happens in the background with a domain name is it routes you to an IP address. If we have to make an IP address change, either because of expansion or splitting servers or failover or any other reason that we might have to change IP addresses, we will, of course, always send an email out and tell you guys that this is happening, but you would have to make changes on your rovers if you're using IP addresses. If you're using domain names, you just keep using them. We'll make the changes, and it'll happen in the background. So that's correct, Matt. I'll take that offline, Matt. So for data services, we have xx.smartnet.na.us. So XX is just your state abbreviation, or in Canada, your province abbreviation. So CA, TX, LA, NM, AZ, MD, WV, VA, whatever. And for Canada, the same thing, ON, NB, NS, and so on and so forth. Okay, so this is just your abbreviation for your state or province. So you can use this. You can put this in your rover. You can put this to download FTP. So just put an FTP in front of it, and you take you to the FTP site to download data. Or once we get Spider 4.2 up and rolling again, Spider Web will be again in service, and you will be able to use it to download data that way as well. Port number is the same. Port number's always the same. The question was, if I change the domain names, what about the port number? The port number is the port number is the port number. So 10,000 is our port number for our Ntrip connections to all our servers. So you can get to all the data services via Ntrip on 10,000. And of course, with GPU ID, TCP/IP connections, they're going to vary. 1100. 1101, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just go to the connections and configuration page, and you'll find the appropriate port numbers. But the domain names do not change your ports. Also, if you get tired of typing and you haven't saved it as a favorite yet, you can go to www.smartnetna.us, and it'll take you to the website as well. We've had a couple reports that's not kicking people over. It might not have propagated to everybody's domain name services yet on the www because it's just a redirect link. So we'd encourage you guys, if you try it and it doesn't work, if you're using Chrome or something like that, or a new version of IE, it'll throw up SmartNet anyway. So as the first selection below that. So just feel free to try that out. If you have any problems, just let us know. The question is, how do we type in for FTP? It would be FTP://.xx, or excuse me, XX. So FTP://XX. Let me grab a notepad here. So if I wanted to go to a, okay, there we go. If I wanted to go to get data from Arizona, that's what I would type. Same thing for anything else. I've got the FTP://az.smartnet.us. Okay. That question came up twice, so I wanted to make sure that we got answered. So those are alternate domain names. Nothing big, nothing huge. Makes it a little easier on the rover, makes it a little easier to remember, and also makes it a little easier for us to manage if we have to do a failover or something like that. You will see if you go back to the connection and configuration page that these are now reflected as opposed to the old really long domain names. Twitter. I know we've belabored this in the past, and why do I care about Twitter? My teenage kid, I can't get him off of it. I don't want to spend any time on it. When we understand the perception of Twitter sometimes, but we've been using it pretty effectively in twofold. First off, if you go to the portal, you'll always see over here a post of our Twitter of our tweets. This allows us a really quick, concise, easy way to get information out. So our last ones, of course, are always posted here. If you want to see more information, you can click on it and you can see a little bit more information. You can also click and see a full profile, which shows you everything that we posted. Okay. Again, we don't want to wear you out with emails telling you that we're doing firmware updates on sites that can only affect 1 or 2 sites at any given time. So we want a place where we can post something. You guys can come and look at it at your leisure. Okay, so that's one way you can use Twitter, and you don't have to sign up for Twitter to be able to use this. Like I just went to it, I wasn't signed in as a Twitter follower. I wasn't signed up as anything. It's just a place I can go look at data. The other really nice thing is mobile alerts. So if you have a field crew and they're not, of course, on the portal, they don't get all the email alerts that come out, all that kind of stuff. You can text. Follow SmartNet_NA to 40404, and you will receive SMSs, texts, updates of the posts we make to Twitter on the mobile phone. So if you're a field crew out in the field, it's great. You know what's going on. You don't have to have portal access to do this. We don't put too many things on Twitter like some crazy people do. Of where we're at today or anything crazy, but we do post all pertinent data, like I was just showing. We, like just last night, maintenance alerts for firmware being conducted in Northern and Southern California. You may have interruptions through the evening. So we post simple stuff like that. It comes via text message. We also post big stuff. So anything we send an email out about, network's going to be down. We're doing big maintenance, whatever like that. Any big alerts as well, we'll also post on the Twitter feed. So this also allows the field crew to get an alert about that. Okay. So follow SmartNet NA to 40404, and you'll start getting texts. It's pretty handy. So I'm going to review the questions, see if there's anything of any consequence. We're here. Let's see here. Okay, I think we don't have anything really outstanding over there in the question section. So, we do. The download Rhinex for Canada still does not work for me. Same error. SBC proxy is not available. Like we said, the SpiderWeb has been taken offline currently for all regions, Canada, East, West, and Central, and it might still be up in the West because of some problems. We'll be upgrading SpiderWeb to 4.2 and rebuilding SpiderWeb completely, and it'll reflect all the new stations, everything like that. Now that Spider 4.2 is released, we can start working on that just after the holidays. So that should fix all the SpiderWeb Rhinex download issues. Okay, so SmartNet North American adjustment. We're here finally. We've been talking about this for a pretty good while now. It's become a very, very large task, which we knew it would be to begin with, but it has grown in leaps and bounds. So, as we've said before, SmartNet has adopted the proposed NGS standard of inclusion of 10% of our stations into the National Course Network, so we're still working on that. This assures that we can provide both the internal integrity we require while it's still, at the same time, holding to the National Spatial Coordinate Frame. So at the end of the day, we should have 10 to 15% of our stations, maybe even a little bit higher, that'll be part of the National Course Network, and we'll hold to that going forward. The complete readjustment of SmartNet by our folks over in Harebrugg using Bernice is underway, adhering to these proposed NGS standards. So what's currently underway? Well, that's all the stuff that we've got worked on, got finished, have gone through. Of course, we're always trying to return as many stations as possible to service, so we can make sure we have all the data for you out in the field. Also have data for the adjustment. And data submittals to Harebrugg began earlier this week. So we've actually started pushing data to Harebrugg for the adjustment. So they'll start looking at that here pretty shortly. So when is this going to happen? Well, preparations have been completed. We've prepared and prepared and prepared. We've talked and talked and talked, and now we're finally to execution. The execution plan has been finished, so we finished planning. We began pushing data earlier this week. 2 weeks of data will be used by Harebrugg. So I would say just after the new year, they'll actually start looking at the processing runs. I know they'll look at the data next week. I talked with one of the folks early this morning, or late last night, whichever one you want to say it is. We'll have a webinar, another one, in January to discuss the adjustment results and the launch schedule. That's one reason we wanted to do this webinar today, was to let you guys know, please, when we send out the email for the adjustment webinar in January, please attend. Because it will be a lot of information. It'll give you a lot of background on what's happened. It'll show you the results, and it'll talk about the launch schedule and how we're going to move forward. So that webinar in January is going to be really important. And also publish and launch adjustment 15 to 30 days after the webinar. So once we get the results back from Harebrugg, we'll look at how we're going to phase it in. We'll announce a webinar in January to discuss it with the customers, and then we will launch that adjustment, actually put it into service 15 to 30 days after the webinar. So again, webinar in January, very important. It might be towards the end of January. I'm not sure. We'll have to get an exact timeline back from Harebrugg once they've had a chance to do all their magic with the numbers. Okay, so we encourage you guys to be there. This is going to happen two things are going to happen with this adjustment. First off, the coordinate management has significantly changed in Spider 4.0, which is pretty nice because prior to Spider 4.0, a single coordinate was used for processing and broadcast. This meant in areas of movement, they experienced inconsistent network processing results, or if we adjusted the coordinates, they were immediately reflected to the user. This was a problem. If I go to making changes to coordinates all the time, your stuff moves around on the ground where you're coming off of the network. So the solution was separate the processing broadcast coordinates. This allows us as a network operator to adjust the processing coordinates for optimal network performance in the background, and it allows you guys to complete projects without new transformations, adjustments, etc. In the front end. So what does this mean to you guys? The processing coordinates are transparent. Like I said, this is what we produce our network corrections off of. So we expect after this adjustment to see even stronger network corrections than what we have right now. These will be in ITRF 2008, also known as IGS 08. So this is what we'll have in the back end. The broadcast coordinates for the U.S. will be NAD 83, NA North American 2011, EPIC 2010. This will coincide with the new NGS adjustment. And then Canada, it will be NAD 83, CSRS V6, EPIC 2010. To coincide with the readjustment that was just done by the Canadian Geodetic Society up there. So this is what's coming. So we'll be on the most current, both current EPIC and realization of a reference frame as well. So this is a big change, but we think it's going to pay dividends for everybody. And we'll talk about how you're going to handle this, how we're going to handle this, what things you need to do in the January webinar. Also under development is working to continually conduct continuous integrity monitoring, so we can perform monitoring adjustments on areas of movements on for subsidence or a horizontal movement on a quarterly basis if possible. Perform monitoring adjustments on other areas on an annual basis. We're still working on when we're going to adjust the coordinates going forward, if it's going to be on a schedule or if it's going to be based on some type of movement. The ITRF, the processing coordinates, we can kind of adjust when we need to because those are, again, transparent, or those are hidden behind the scenes to you guys. So I think right now what we've discussed is the adjustment of the ITRF coordinates will be done annually, or if monitoring reveals new coordinates exceed 1 to 2 centimeters horizontally and vertical tolerances. And the adjustments of the NAD 83 coordinates would be done on an annual basis. In areas of movement, Northern California, Southern California, Louisiana for subsidence, Houston area for subsidence, we may have to look at that a little closer as far as even the broadcast coordinates, what we're going to do there. Those things haven't been fully hashed out yet. We've been trying to get through phase 1, and we'll get back to the monitoring continuous stuff as we go. Okay, we got some questions here. Will this presentation be available to download as well? Yes, we'll post this up on the download section of the website. You'll be able to watch it right there online. You have plans to calculate station velocities. This is being discussed for future adjustments. Since we haven't done it before, we don't know what they are. With respect to the EPIC in the San Francisco Bay, we already moved more than a quarter foot horizontally from EPIC 2010. Is there a chance that SmartNet will adopt more frequent coordinate updates similar to CSRC? Maybe. We understand in California, Northern California, 3 centimeters a year kind of stuff. We understand that there's a lot of things to take into account out there. Currently, everything's done in IGS and ITRF in the background, and we'll do a 7-point transformation or 7 parameter transformation to take it from ITRF to whatever our broadcast coordinates are going to be. It has been discussed of how we're going to handle California. Currently, the easiest way is to say it's going to be in, NA 2011, EPIC 2010 to line up with NGS, but nothing's off the table at this point, Dave. So, any more questions on the adjustment? Again, this is just to kind of get you ready for it. When we get there in January, the webinar in January will have a lot deeper detail on what we've seen, what we're going to expect, and how you guys will give some suggestions on how you guys can be prepared for it out in the field. Okay, so what's on the horizon? This is all the stuff that we've completed. I'd like to say that there's nothing below number 12, but there's always stuff below number 12. We got new email templates that are being rolled out in steps. Automated alert of rover error messages to end users, distributors, and support. This is being worked on with the development staff over in Harebrook. So this isn't a today thing, but this is something that's coming. What this will mean is pretty nice, and we'll talk about it more in just a second. And then tying the site and user database together for automated alerts of station issues to hosts that are capable of assisting. We're also working on that. So new email templates, they're a little prettier. They have a little bit more information on them. So when you get these for your license set to expire, your account activation, you have a little bit more information available to you to work from. Error alerts and accounting. We've been working on this for a little while. We realized that we couldn't do it alone without a whole lot of development time on our side. So we went back to Harebrook and have been working with them. So what this will allow us to do is actually query the network server and ability to match an error in the network server watch view to a specific username. So if a username throws an error, incorrect password, not sending a GGA string, outside of network coverage, whatever, then we will have the ability to automatically email the user as well as the responsible distributor to alert them of the specific error. So if you've got a password error, it'll shoot you an email that says, hey, your password's wrong. In that email, we'll also have the ability to include steps to resolve the error in the email. Again, more self-help. If you get an alert that says, hey, your password's wrong, it'll also try to help you figure out a way to fix that. We'll also be able to log these alerts to your record for training, and also as well as to cover yourself and your field crew for questions, and then address constant requests for our distributor network for GUI access, which is something that we can't provide. So this is going to be nice. You'll get an alert pretty quickly to tell you, hey, your password's wrong. This is coming. I'd say it's probably into Q1, first to Q2. So Q4, we have already begun the adjustment execution. Server OS upgrades, we are in the process. We've already rolled them out. We got 55 new Server 2008 machines built, and we were waiting for Spider 4.2 to put on them. And so we'll have a pretty hopefully smooth transition between those two. So we've got fresh servers to put Spider 4.2 on, and we can migrate the database. Continued improvements of the SmartNet site database with more photos, documentation, etc. We'll continue to add and improve there. Other projects, January 2012, launch of the North American adjustment. Also be transitioning the Washington State network over into SmartNet to increase our footprint again. And, of course, the SmartNet initiative, which we talked about in the past, to upgrade stations and expand stations across SmartNet North America. So these are some of the things that are coming up. We've got a lot of other things that are also going to be coming once we get there. So any outstanding questions? Of course, not only are we here for questions on the webinar, but we're also available via the contact page on the portal or via our SmartNet support email address down here at the bottom. So nafta.smartnet@leicageosystems.com. So you can always send an email there. That goes to the entire team. If you do have questions, as opposed to contacting myself or Chuck directly, which sometimes, especially this time of year where we've got vacation and everything else, holidays, if you send it to the SmartNet email address you see here on the screen, that's going to get to the entire team and probably get you a faster answer as well. Well, if there's no additional questions, we'd like to thank you all for being subscribers, users, and partners of SmartNet North America, and the entire team here at Leica and SmartNet, I wish you a very, very happy holiday season. Be safe in your travels, and I hope the new year finds you well. Do you hear about Mundell problem of satellite tracking since 2 to 3 months? Jillian, if you'll contact us directly, we can talk about that. I'm not sure exactly what you're referring to there. So we'll hang out here for a few minutes and answer any questions that you guys might have. But that's the conclusion of our webinar today. We do appreciate your time. Like I said, we are recording this, so as soon as it re-encodes and is available, we'll put it up on the website. You can also use the link that you got in the invitation to access it. So you're not just have to access it through the download section. You can also use the link that you received as an invitation. So if you have some field staff or some other folks in the office that want to see this and listen to me to drone on, you can use that as well. So we'll hang out for a second. If you have any questions, we'll be happy to answer them. What is the anticipated shift with the new? No idea, Mike. We won't know until the adjustment's done. Older antennas must be updated from 530 series to new ones, base antennas. Edgar, we can take that offline if you want to give us a shout or shoot us an email. Rich, we can take that offline if you want to give me a call later today. Okay, looks like the questions are starting to slow down. So with that, we'll go ahead and stop this webinar. Again, if you have any questions, you can always email us or use the contact page on the portal. We do appreciate it. Happy holidays to everybody. Thank you very much. And we'll talk to you on the flip side, guys. Thanks.